I totally agree, mate. There's no big time Charlies. He only recruits players interested in and from the professional sense, and I think that was historical as well. Not too sure about Mainz because he was a player manager there, but definitely at Dortmund, you didn't get that feeling in Dortmund that there was any player was bigger than the club. They were all about the collective. Um, the other thing, mate, I think his religious values play a big part. His religious situation plays a big part in his professional sense as well because he's a Christian, he's devout, and he's big on family values and the family unit. And I think this is somewhat evidence of this is the Brazilians he's brought on board. They're big on the family, and also the Muslim players he's brought on board as well with regards to they don't they don't drink alcohol, etc. So they're not out in the clubs and the bars, and he knows they're going to be at training the following day.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like Ross Barkley where they're going to end up in fights with taxi drivers and that at night.
Exactly, or a Frank McAvenny type character
Yeah,
who's going to be who's going into the clubs at 4 a.m. instead of going exactly.
yeah. I think it's definitely the way he wants them to go is to be there and working hard and value having a career over just going out and enjoying the money.
Yeah, and it's a great tactic as well in a sense if you think about it. If you're buying players that are not really partying and not going out, it's only going to bode well for your for output, and you know you're going to get a full complement of players at training. I know we're joking about it, but you're going to get a turnout at training. People ain't pulling in sickies. People ain't going to be taking 2, 3 days off with hangovers or whatever, you know.
Or
And on
vomiting
the
in the
Saturday,
bushes like Tony Adams used to before starting the runs and stuff.
I mean, he was a freak though. He partied hard, but he was a great player. Let's face it.
Yeah, but how good could he have been? Even he said that himself. How good could he have been if he hadn't drunk like he did?
Yeah, let's face it. I mean, players like I don't know Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, if they were out drinking, I mean, it would naturally it would lessen their output or their level of brilliance if they were out partying, etc.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the differences between the modern football. You know why their careers last longer is they're living more professionally, thinking about what they eat
Yeah,
and drink.
absolutely, absolutely. Like
Milner.
we'd all want to Milner, exactly. It's exactly who I was gonna say. So I think he's Klopp is definitely using this is a tactic. These clean living footballers is listen. For me it's a tactic. You've got to bridge the gap on City in as
Mm.
many ways as you can. Be
Well,
it technological. Go on.
I was just going to say, and there's also the advantage of players like that. Their desire isn't the money for the sake of going out and splashing it. They want to achieve something. They want to win things rather than make lots of money, which is why Virgil van Dijk wanted to join Liverpool rather than go somewhere else because he wanted to achieve stuff. He knew, he could have gone somewhere else and earned twice as much, but he didn't want that. He wanted to go
Yeah.
where he thought he could win everything.
And that really, you have to salute the player and the coach in that regard because when you sign for Klopp, you know that you're in for a lot of hard work, number one. And number two, you're invested in, you want to actually play for the club. You want to play for this coach, rather than like you say, go for the riches somewhere else, and just get your deck chair out and a cigar. Because it's wherever in Dortmund, you knew that that was going to be a ganging press team. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to put the miles in to achieve any type of success. So I think I totally agree with you, mate. Totally agree.
God, that must be a face then.
You can tell I'm not in my right mind, obviously.
I was lost for words. Then you said you agree. I don't know
No,
what
it's
to
true. I
say.
mean, look at it's true. Look at Mane. I mean, he didn't. He had other options. He didn't have to come and sign for us. He knew that Klopp was what type of football Klopp played. He had to put in the hard graft. You make that point about Virgil, a very good point about Virgil. He could have got more money at Man City, but Pep didn't bother because he knew that he wanted to go to Liverpool. But if he'd shown interest in City, they'd have blown us out of the water with wages for sure. He was the most sought after centre back in the league at that time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it wasn't like Maguire, but then Pep would have would have paid money for Maguire if he could. So yeah. So it proves the point that he'll pay the money if he thinks it's worth it, and the chances.
Absolutely. Now,
I'm still recovering from you agreeing with me. I'm sorry. I need. My head's gone. I tell you, it's lost me. That has totally thrown me out. Where are we? What's going on?
Well, I'm gonna throw something at you.
Please
here.
Just don't agree with me again, because I think I might just my heart can't take it.
Your mind, body, and soul won't be able to handle it. Yeah, exactly. All right, buddy. Here's the question: where does Jurgen Klopp rank among the best coaches at Liverpool Football Club?
After you've just agreed to me and completely destroyed my mind, you now want me to answer a question like that? Oh, God, that's a tough one. It
really, really is. I mean, maybe it's unfair after only 3 seasons, but nevertheless, I think the comparison's worth making. It will make...
Joe Fagan only there for a couple of seasons as manager, so... and he's still definitely in among the greats. So why not after 4 seasons, 4 years, 3.5 years, whatever. 4 years, 3.5 seasons, whatever.
Exactly. Hey, Fagan was there for 2 years. I thought it was 1 season and he gave up after Heysel.
No, season before we won under him. And then he took over. He did. Then he quit after Heysel the year after, when he was the first for ages that hadn't won anything.
Gotcha. Okay. So, stand corrected.
Yeah, it was his second.
All right. So
I'm sure of that. I remember him saying so. That was. So.
Okay. So realistically, right? Let's look. I know we're both old, but we don't remember Shankly. So. But it would be a disservice to Shankly if we tried to compare.
But even so, you only have to look at his record and what he did and how he achieved it. Klopp's not had to fight with the directors like he had to. I mean, when he first came in, Shankly had to fight with him to buy Ian St John and Ron Yates, and they kept refusing to buy him. And a few other players he missed out on as well. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but he tried to buy a bunch of other players as well. And eventually, one of the directors, the board of directors said to Shankly, we can't afford to buy them. And this other director stood up and said, we can't afford not to buy them. And that was how it changed for him. But he had to fight with them all the time. So you've got to say Klopp's never had to do that. So, and he's also, the foundations are in place because of Shankly. You know what I mean? The great fan following and all that. So you have to put Shankly above him. There's the only person, in my opinion, you can compare with Shankly is Paisley, who's the greatest ever.
Mate, if we put Klopp in a poll ahead of Shankly and Paisley, I don't think we'll be allowed back in Liverpool again. So that's never going to happen.
Well, you wouldn't know the club if you think they're better. You must be a kid who's never not looked into the history to know. Yeah, it's those two have got to be the top two. It's just which order is dependent on how you feel about them. But I love Paisley. I think he's the greatest ever. He was the advisor to Kenny Dalglish in his early years. And that's what helped him.
I know that, yeah.
Yeah, he was the reason why Dalglish did so well to start with.
Absolutely, yes, I know that. Yeah,
so quick,
I honestly think that Paisley was the greatest.
And me,
I really do.
Anything, not just Liverpool, ever. Paisley for me is the greatest of all time,
without a shadow of a doubt. But the reason I'd have them joint is because Shankly laid the foundations for Paisley's success, and that is something that I've always been indebted to Shankly for,
I get
because
that. I can get that. But I would say
I
Paisley
couldn't
was part
separate
of
them.
what Shankly did as well. A big part of it.
Yeah, I get that. I think
So,
that I, I just feel that I couldn't separate the two
no, I could
because they're just
understand that.
both. It's for me. I couldn't. I'd give in. To me, that'd be a
It's like
betrayal
having
to my
kids, isn't it?
Liverpool.
Which one do you love
Exactly,
more? You can't
exactly.
get one.
And
Yeah,
and listen, it's not about favourites or anything like that, because they both have a solid we can solidly advocate for them for both being the greatest. So it's really isn't. They both are absolutely great men
yeah.
for different reasons, and I couldn't separate the two. So let's.
So
I mean, we
whether
can't
he goes third or below now is the question, isn't it?
basically, yes,
Yeah.
exactly right. So who are the protagonists? So basically,
Dalglish.
it's Dalglish, right? It's Evans.
I
It's
don't think I'd.
Julio.
Yeah, no. So
So
far,
it's
it's Dalglish. It's Miles.
yeah,
Fagan.
exactly, yeah,
Dalglish,
yeah, Fagan,
Fagan. I
and
suppose you possibly could say Rafa because he had European football. Dalglish wasn't able to compete in Europe, so he never
yeah,
won anything in Europe.
exactly.
So you'd have to say that it's difficult to give him
That
a
team,
higher.
that team would have won a European Cup for sure,
You would
without a
think so,
shadow of a
wouldn't it?
doubt.
The 80s.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that team of like Barnes, Beardsley, Rush, Dalglish.
Oh, and even his first team, 86, the 85, 86 team, you would fancy that to be anybody you come up against.
I think we probably lost. I think we lost out on a minimum of 2 European Cups with that team, with
Possibly.
Dalglish's
Yeah,
side.
you can't really.
Yeah,
You can't. I mean, you can't tell, but you would think there was a good chance you'd have carried on winning.
I know the AC Milan team of that era was pretty handy, but I think we'd have given up a go. We'd have definitely matched them, if not better them, in the final. But you never know. You just never know.
Oh, and there was Verona, obviously, who won it in '85.
Did they?
Yeah, they won
Verona
it.
won a
Did you
European
not know
Cup.
that? No, they won the Serie A in '85 when Juve won the European Cup, beat us in the final.
What, when
The year that
Verona?
I know, I didn't
No,
even.
I
I
didn't know
didn't know
that.
that. I only know that because I've started doing research on it for an article. So I was like, no.
Oh wow, that
So
that is
that shows the Serie A wasn't that good. It was just all about defending because all they did was they drew 13 times.
I didn't know
13
that at
times.
all.
So Serie A wasn't that strong in that era. Not
wow.
as strong
Oh
as
wow.
people make out.
Didn't know that at all. That's every day's a school day. Anyway, so basically it's out of Dalglish, Rafa,
Yeah.
and Fagan.
Fagan.
I
Yeah. And
suppose
Klopp.
you've got and Klopp, yeah. So Dalglish, Fagan, Klopp, and Rafa. I would assume Fagan goes into third because of his accolades and his accomplishments.
What he did before it as well, you've got to say it's,
Yeah,
what he'd done along with, because he was part of the Shankly Paisley era as well. That gives him.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I'd
So
still go for Dalglish over him. Third for me
yeah,
is Dalglish.
yeah,
For the first
yeah.
spell.
I
The
thought
second spell,
we
you can't judge him on.
no, of course not. The first spell we played some blistering football that it was just it blew you away. I mean, I remember did you see the demolition of Nottingham Forest 5-0
Yeah.
when Barnes was there?
I used to have it on
Tom.
video. Watched
I
it till
mean,
it wore out.
exactly,
Watched it till it wore out.
exactly.
It was fantastic
I mean, it's ridiculous
football. And the
football, and
9-0.
the 9-0 of the Crystal Palace. Yeah,
I had that on video as
exactly.
well. But you had to
Yeah.
send away for it. My mum had to send away for it on the paper. That was how you had to get these things in those days. Wore that one out as well, watching that over and over because Nickel was the only one who scored twice.
That is,
watch it so often.
mate, ludicrous football. Just
Brilliant.
unreal football, man.
So for
So
me, Dalglish has to go in third.
yeah, I agree with you there, mate. I agree with you there.
I know his second
and
spell
also,
wasn't as successful, but he still won a cup.
yeah,
And
exactly.
to be fair, he was coming in at a time when we were a mess, and he was having to rebuild it as well.
Yeah, and some would say there's arguments to say that he shouldn't have got fired either.
Well, I wouldn't have fired
he won
him.
a cup.
Can't see how
he
you
was.
could fire Dalglish. I know what he did with supporting Suarez, but he was doing what he thought was right for supporting the player who'd lied to him and told him that he didn't say it, and then admitted he did. And, I don't want to get into the Suarez thing, but Dalglish was trying to, standing by his player. That,
in my opinion, in that situation, very quickly, there's no culpability for Dalglish because if he was lied to. I mean, how can you blame Dalglish for somebody else's mistake? I just don't understand that. He did, like you said, he did what he felt was right. He got lied to, and you fired the wrong. I would never have bought in. Who took over? Was it Hodgson, right, from Dalglish?
No, Hodgson was
Rogers?
Before. That's why it was.
Yeah, it was Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, Hodgson was before. Honestly, that was what he was rebuilding from.
Yeah. I would have given Dalglish another season. Yeah, he made mistakes.
Myself,
Andy Carroll.
I always said that he shouldn't have been given the job, not because I didn't want him, but because I don't think modern day fans deserve a great like him. He's a true legend to Liverpool, and he's too good for the fans that are around because some of them turned on him, and I just can't. You just can't. How can you turn on Kenny Dalglish? Of all the people connected to Liverpool Football Club, he's the one man you cannot turn on as a Liverpool fan. And if you do, you don't deserve to call yourself a Liverpool fan. It's that simple.
That is the epitome and definition of sacrilege. You turning on Kenny Dalglish is just heresy. It's just like it disgusted me when I mean you don't know what that guy's done for the club, for the city, for his for life, for people, general humanity, and he won a competition. What the hell more do you want?
Yeah,
he won. Yeah. He was a winning manager. And
look what he took over.
Sorry, Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a
crappy
team.
Neggy will be stropping now because you swore.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't completely swear. To be honest with you, I held back.
Good boy.
It was half a swear, so that doesn't even count. And I said,
It does, Neg.
It doesn't.
It does. It does. Negative Red Walter will tell you. I'm telling you. He'll pick that out and he'll tell you off for that one.
It wasn't a swear. I just got. It was my passionate defense of the king. So it's. I'm allowed a boo boo. But anyway, yeah. So for me, I would have given him one more season. Not just because he was Kenny, the king, but he won a cup, and I think he deserved one more season.
And he got us to another final as well,
which people forget about.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, I'd say I just don't think modern fans deserve a legend like that.
Yeah.
But
all right, mate. So, all right. So we've got in your poll we've got Paisley, Shankly, Dalglish.
Yep.
Paisley, Shankly, Dalglish, Fagan.
Yeah.
In mine we have Shankly, Paisley, Dalglish, Fagan. And
so we've both got pretty much the same. The only difference is the Shankly Paisley thing.
Shankly, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So now we've got Rafa, Klopp. That's it, isn't it? Oh, well, Klopp's got to be above Rafa. No, I love Rafa, but Klopp's above
Rafa, Klopp, Julio, and Evans. But
I
Evans
love Roy Evans, lovely fella. Lovely man, played fantastic football. But he was he was he was never given a chance, proper chance. He wasn't supported by the chairman and the CEO. He wasn't supported by the club at all. He wasn't helped to achieve anything. So you can't have him in there, unfortunately. Because we were just badly run at the time. Supported? Badly run by a man who thought he was a player's friend, the owner, David Moores.
Was Evans a winning manager if you'd given him the full support?
He might have been too soft, is the only thing that was the issue, but he still had Ronnie Moran alongside him, and Ronnie Moran wasn't a soft man. Oh, he was there.
Yeah.
The problem was that they were just constantly undermined. Everything they did was just destroyed because Moores would just rip out the carpet underneath them every time they said anything. You know, if they punished a player, Moores would say, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about paying the fine, lad. You know? Things like that.
So this was the era of Jamie Redknapp, Neil Ruddock,
Yeah.
Julian Dix, and David
Dix
James.
Dix was Souness, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yes, that's right, mate. Yeah, you're right.
And you've got to remember he was rebuilding from Souness.
Right.
So,
yeah.
you know, it wasn't like he come in and, you know, it wasn't like he come in and this is a team ticking over and running brilliantly.
Right. Right.
And as a coach, Roy Evans is one of the greatest of all time as well.
Right, okay.
But
so,
as a manager, you can't compare him. And he didn't win a trophy, no matter what the circumstances. As a manager of Liverpool, you have to put him below ones who actually did win trophies.
Okay then. All right. So let's so let's talk about how does Houllier, Klopp compared to Houllier and Rafa?
Well, Houllier, I mean, he won a lot of trophies, but the football was dire. The management, I don't like the way his management style. He was too authoritarian. You know,
he was a complete autocrat. Yeah.
Completely, horrible to work for, and it wasn't a happy time at the club, you know, to be a part of the club, and that's the problem, because he's a nice guy as well. When he's away from running things, he's a lovely fella and that, like, and you know,
yeah.
And I got a lot of time and respect for the man as a man, but as a manager of the club, I'd have Rafa or Klopp above him every time. And he tried, and he would, you know, he was desperate to succeed, but he didn't have the, he was too much of of an autocrat. You know, I know you need discipline, but he went too far, way too far.
But was he still autocratic with his favourites like Heskey and Owen? Or did he give him a...
No, he was quite autocratic with everyone. Gave them a bit more leeway than the rest. You know, Owen more leeway than the rest, obviously.
Yeah, because that was his boy, wasn't it?
Yeah, he let him off with a fair bit, Owen. Like, if he skipped training, there was no questions asked. Whereas if somebody else said they weren't fit to train, well, get in here, let's have the physios look at you. Whereas when Owen said it, it's like, oh, you just put your feet up then, Michael, lads, you know what I mean?
My favourite Houllier moment of his stewardship was, and above all the trophies that we won, I think we won 500 and whatever it was, right? But above everything, the most memorable thing for me is when he tried to advocate for Robbie Fowler's cocaine goal celebration when he started the white line.
He was following, what's his name? The Cameroonian, Rigobert Song.
Yeah.
He was just copying his grass eating or something. It's like, oh my God. Oh, Jed.
That was... Oh my God, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen on a TV screen.
I'd forgotten about that. I was thinking, like, you were either going to mention the UEFA Cup final versus Alaves, which was game. Where did that come from, Houllier? I mean, where did that come from? It's one of the greatest games of all time, and like, I was physically sick after the game because of nerves, because he just kept throwing it away. Or the McAllister goal against Everton, the free kick in the last seconds.
And I can remember, both of them times, I can remember where I was and who I was with.
Oh, even better.
For the McAllister.
I had to go to work afterwards with a bunch of Evertonians. I spent all night the one after the goal scored McAllister. And I stayed in to watch it because it was, late. It was I wasn't able to go to the game. I had to watch it at home on the TV because I was supposed to be at
Yeah.
work, and I just I'll be in late because there's football on. Because I just used to turn up late because there's football on. But I wasn't, so I'm like, I'm gonna be late. And I got in, and all the Everton fans just went, "Oh shit!" You can see every one of them had obviously been hoping I'd have that night off, and they all just went, "Oh." See them all trying to find some, trying to find some. Because it was like a Sunday night, and it was like, it was supposed to be overtime, you see, and I didn't often do overtime. Never did it. I hated it, so I wouldn't do it. But for that night, I'll be in.
It's funny how you can. I mean, big Liverpool games. I know where I am, but big historical occasions, like big, I don't know, state funerals or whatever. I have no idea. For Princess Diana's funeral or whatever, I have no idea where I was doing. But a big Liverpool game, I can tell you exactly where I was, who I was with.
I know where I was when Princess Di died. Do you know how I know?
No.
Because I was going to the Newcastle game that day, and obviously she died during the night, and they postponed it. And it was when I got a job elsewhere, and I was having to move away. So it was the last game I was going to on my season ticket, and obviously it had been 2-4-3s the 2 years before. So it's me, and I'm thinking it's the last game I was going to get to before I went away for work. And the bastards postponed it. I was like, you can't, because of her dying. I was fuming. Absolutely furious.
Oh, how insensitive of them, Tristan, to put you out like that, eh?
I mean, well, what's she got to do with Liverpool is all I thought. What's it got to do with the football? Why stop a football match because of her? I still don't get it.
Stop being so insensitive, right? Listen to this.
Shit's here that was bloody insensitive. She could have gone a day.
I years and years ago, I was walking down Knightsbridge High Street, and you're walking down the street, and it was kind of an empty street at that time. It was early evening or something, and I'm walking down the road, and she's walking towards me, and I'm walking towards her. She looks at me, I look at her, and I think, whoa, what a sort, you know what I mean? I'm looking at thinking, wow, what a beautiful woman. And then I clock it's her. I realise it's her. Princess Diana, right?
She was beautiful. God's sake.
You've got shit in your eyes, mate. Of course she was, right? Listen, and what was I going to say to you? So I'm looking round, and then this obviously a close protection officer is right next to us. So I crap my pants and just started walking again. Do you know what I mean? That's my Princess Diana story.
Wow.
Anyway,
that's good. Did I ever tell you about when we were one night at home, and the next thing the phone starts ringing, and in those days, it's all landlines and that. So my mum goes and answers it. And next thing I can hear her, and she's like, "What are you going?" I can hear her shout, "Calm down" to me, to someone on the other end. And she comes in and she said, "I've just had the strangest conversation." Anyway, it turned out my nan had phoned up. She says, "The king's dead." My mum's like, "Which king?" She's like, "I don't know. They just said on the radio, the king's dead." And my mum's like, "What king? We haven't even got a bloody king. What are you on about?" Turned out she got all excited over nothing. She thought it was something to do with the UK. Turned out it was Elvis Presley's death. She got all excited. She didn't even like Elvis Presley, for God's sake. She was so excited by the fact that a king had died and had to phone everyone that she never even thought, which king? Whose king? What king?
Right. I got a plane to catch. Let's get on with it.
Sorry, mate.
What was I going to say? Yeah. All right. So we've discounted Houllier and Evans. So really, it's out of Klopp and Rafa.
Both won the European champions. Well, not European.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? European Cup, Champions League.
I still call it European Cup. So I'm old school like that. But
Rafa
I
won
would
an
say
FA Cup as well.
Absolutely, and he ran us twice in the league, very, very close. So
but he also held us back in the league both times, and the reason why we didn't win it, in my opinion.
Go on, Robbie Keane for one.
No, nothing to do with Robbie Keane. That's just nonsense. It wasn't any. That was just a mistake. They bought someone who shouldn't have been at the club.
Right.
Terrible attitude, horrible man. Should never have been there. Anyway, yeah, but that's another story. And what I mean is, he held it back because he just played too defensive. Away games were always a draw. It's always what he tried to do. If he got a win, it was it was like if we can snatch a win, great. But he played for a draw, and that cost us. That's why we didn't win it. Too defensive.
It was hard work watching us under Rafa sometimes, I must admit. And don't get me wrong, I love Rafa for so many different reasons.
Oh, wonderful
the
bloke.
reason, sensational a human being, but he also had to fight fires every single day of the week when he worked for Liverpool. I mean, imagine working and...
Prick Parry. God, can you imagine it?
Imagine Rick Parry. I can't. I mean, just imagine. Right, imagine. Okay,
you've got to deal with him every day. Oh,
exactly. And you've got Gillette and Hicks putting up obstacles in your way every single day. I mean, it's like going to work and having your manager being the biggest arsehole to you every day for 8 hours a day.
So how's your
work going to be? How's your work? What is the quality of your work going to be like? And he still produced the goods.
And you're having to ask that as a serious question because you don't know what work's like, do you?
I hope I never find out either. But but what I'm saying is that can you imagine trying to put out a good body of work every day with obstacles in your way and purposely as well? The infighting, the drama, the politics, the toxicity of the situation. How he deserves, he has my utmost respect, and he deserves the utmost kudos for that.
And he rebuilt the academy.
Absolutely, which is something I forgot totally. Yeah, you're right. He rebuilt the academy.
That in.
Yeah, the academy, what it is now. So and he won a European Cup. Yeah. So there's evidence to suggest that, and an FA Cup, that he would go above Klopp in this survey, in this poll.
I can't because I just suddenly, yeah, when you start remembering that. But no,
and what he's done for the city of Liverpool.
Yeah, and his wife, bringing his wife over was just,
yeah.
That's worth putting you up at least another 10 points. Gotta be.
Exactly.
She's been fantastic.
Exactly. They've done so much wonderful charitable acts for the city of Liverpool.
And when he got fired, him giving 96,000 to the Hillsborough, Foundation. Not because he wanted to give 96,000. I've heard people saying tight ass bastard. Why didn't he give more money? He gave 96,000 because it was symbolic. He wanted to give a large sum, but they agreed. And when they discussed it, 96,000 would be the best because it would be symbolic.
And the PR the Hillsborough got from that was more than it would have got if he'd have given $1 million.
Yeah, exactly.
People don't realise that.
That was why he chose that amount, not because he was a tight bastard getting millions but only given 96,000. It was something that was conscious decision with the Hillsborough, the families. They sat down and they said, no, that would be the best help you could do. It's symbolic, what I mean? It's far more to us than the money would ever be worth.
To me, it was genius. I thought it was absolute genius, yeah. And listen, and you're telling me that people accuse him of being cheap, only giving 96,000. He's put millions into charities.
They put so much effort, time and effort into charity. It really annoys me when you hear people like Richard Keys calling him a money grabber for going over to China. This is the guy out there in freaking Qatar, taking in blood-soaked oil money from Qatar. All right, Richard. Yeah, I'm sure you'd know, wouldn't you, what it's like to grab money?
I remember, right? I did work experience at I think it was
I'm
IMG
sorry, I don't
International
believe you ever did work,
Man.
let alone
I was
experience it.
I was 16 and I did some work experience
It
for
frightened
Mark
you for life,
McCormack's.
did it?
Yeah, exactly. Put me psychologically, scarred me for life. I said, not doing that again. Um, I remember, and he came in. I think he was commentating or a presenter for the darts years and years and
Yeah.
years ago. And he came in, and he was, he's a particularly hairy guy, let me tell you.
Oh, he's a
And
gorilla. Oh.
he's a gorilla. And I remember seeing him, and then that was the only. And then what was the other thing? I remember Ian Woosnam bought a private jet around that time because I was the one who had to who read the facts first when they purchased the facts. So that was my
Fax. Bloody hell, how old are you?
exactly, yeah.
And I know
So
who
yeah,
provided the fax machine for you.
who's that?
My mate. My mate Matt, his brother was the guy who did almost every fax machine in the UK at one time was provided by him, his company. That's what he did.
Oh, good for them,
He
mate.
phoned.
Good
I
for them.
remember Matt was saying one day he phoned him up and he said, "Guess where I am? Guess where I am?" And Matt's like, "I've no idea." He said, "I'm on the turf at Anfield." And Matt's like, "Why are you telling me that? I'm a Man United fan." He's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot because he didn't like football." You see, Chris, he didn't even know what team it was. The Man liked. Oh, bless him.
All right, mate. So let's. How long was Rafa at Liverpool for? 6 seasons.
Was it 6 years? 6 years, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I know this is meant to be a eulogy of Klopp and him being one of the greatest and everything, but
Are you going to
on
put Rafa above
reflection,
him?
I think I have to, mate.
Do you?
Simply for, I think I have to. I mean, the only way Klopp trumps Rafa at this moment in time is because of the style of football he plays.
Yeah.
But that's the only way because under Rafa it was putrid. But if given another 3 seasons, if he remains for the rest of his Klopp remains for the rest of his contract, I firmly believe. Well, he might do it this season. Klopp may trump Rafa at the end of the
If he
season by
wins the
winning the
Premier League,
Premiership.
yeah, he's above him.
Yeah,
without doubt.
He goes above him. But at this juncture, I would put Rafa above Klopp. And I say that was a heavy heart, but because I love Klopp, but Rafa was a special human being and is a special human being, and he deserves. And at this moment in time, he's ahead of Klopp because he's won more. Well, he's won the same, but
no, he
was there a
FA
bit
Cup
longer.
as well.
Exactly. So I would definitely.
I'm going to put Klopp above him.
Okay, mate. I can understand that. Why?
Not by much.
Why?
Not by much. It's very close. For getting to all the finals, consistently gets to finals, and he's also consistently improved the team. And the only reason he hasn't won the Premier League is not because of him, which I feel Rafa cost us the Premier League in his time by his own mistakes. Right. This time it's because Rafa never had to deal with a juggernaut like Manchester City. Nobody's had to deal with a juggernaut like Manchester City before in the Premier League. It's always been a very close league. There's always been 3 or 4 fighting it out at least. It's never been a team like Manchester City that's just so far ahead of the rest in terms of financially. I mean, Chelsea blew everyone out the water for a while, but now but Manchester City are taking it to a whole new level.
You don't feel the Manchester United when we were under Rafa when we
Chelsea
were
and Manchester United, but they weren't. I mean, they weren't so far ahead of the rest that they were winning 100 points in a season because nobody done it till Manchester City did.
Right.
And you've got to look at it. The difference is Klopp's had to create fear factor for us. Manchester City already had it, and everybody else has just rolled over and died for him. So it's difficult to compete with that, but he's changing that. He's changing that on his own. You know what I mean? He's made things.
he's eroding the invincibility and the aura of
Yeah.
Manchester City. Yeah, I get that. So you make a very, very believable point there, buddy. I really do. I get that. I mean, but I think it's just 6 months too soon for me to agree
I
with
can
that.
understand that.
I,
And I much prefer
and
it when you don't agree with me, because I'm still, my head's done in from when you did.
Yeah, so we both have Klopp as Shanks, Paisley, Fagan, Dalglish. So you have
No, Dalglish,
Shanks fifth,
Fagan, I had.
Dalglish, Fagan. So yeah, so you have Klopp as fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah, fifth
Yeah.
on the all-time greats, and I have him sixth, which isn't bad in 100 and something odd years of Liverpool being.
Well, I mean, we could have gone through some of the older ones as well, to be fair. But, like, it's difficult to talk about them because, like, football was so different back then. It didn't take much to change.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's difficult to judge them, and none of them really, you know, got the chance to win and stay winning.
Well, listen, it's not bad becoming fifth and sixth on a list of Liverpool managers in 50, 60 years, is it? Let's face it. That's not a bad. That's not a bad position at all.
No, especially not for the club of the size, that's one what Liverpool has.
Exactly, and the stature and the size and the pedigree, yeah, and the caliber of coaches we've had as well.
Comes to something when we were dismissing Houllier, who's like, a lot of the French say he's responsible for setting up their youth system that's bringing them so much success still.
Absolutely, and I still can't get over that Robbie Fowler celebration that he advocated for. All I can think is
Rigobert song.
Yeah, exactly.
How did he come up with that? I just don't know.
I don't know. He you know what I think it is? He's gone into the changing room and he's absolutely seething mad, right? And he's saying, right, now I have to come up with an excuse, right? Yeah. In front of the TV cameras. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? And somebody's winding him up and saying, you know what, boss, you should say this. Yeah. And winding him up, like just cracking up behind his back. And he's thought, right, yeah, that's credible.
I just don't know. Sorry.
No, go on, mate.
I was just going to say, I don't know why there was such a fuss about the celebration, though, personally. Because Everton fans were constantly, throughout his career and out in the streets and that, they were abusing Robbie Fowler for years and years, to the point where his whole family changed from being Blues to becoming Reds because of the abuse Robbie took. You've got to remember this. This wasn't nice abuse. This wasn't a bit of banter. They were nasty. Yeah. They were spreading constant rumours. They were slagging him off. There was attacks on him in the street, stuff like that, to the point where, his whole family turned red because they could no longer stomach what the Blues, the Everton fans said about him and stuff. And they were constantly chanting about him sniffing cocaine and that whenever he played. So for him to do that, I mean, surely the FA should have said, well, we'd rather you didn't do that, but we get it was just a bit of fun. You were just having a bit of banter, that they'd been chanting this and you'd scored against them. Surely, it should have just been a laugh. But they turned it into something. They took it seriously and they made it serious, and they made it a problem rather than something that Everton fans could have had a laugh about. He gave it us back after he got us back, and it could have changed everything. It turned the atmosphere. It made it nasty.
I can't agree, mate. I can't agree. I can't agree.
It was hilarious. It's the funniest goal celebration ever made.
It was very, very, very funny, right? But the thing is, mate, when a kid of 7 asks, Dad, what's Robbie Fowler doing? What are you going to answer? How can you answer that question?
Then they should have been saying the stewards have to stop these Everton fans abusing him.
No, but
it's a bit like saying, if they were doing it because he was playing for Liverpool, that was it. Yeah. There was nothing else in it, and he wore the nose thing, so they made up shit. And I'm sorry, but it's just like the racist abuse problem we've got now.
No, I get
They're making excuses. They were covering it up rather than dealing with the problem.
exactly. I'm from London, right? I used to go to Liverpool a lot to watch the games, right? But every time I met an Everton, right, they'd come up with the same old crap about
Yeah,
the cocaine rumours about Robbie Fowler
yeah, exactly.
every single time, and it was like as if all the Everton fans in the world got together in a room and said, right, you know what? We're going to spread malicious rumours about Robbie Fowler to every Liverpool fan and every not
It was because he was God.
every other. Yeah, but listen, yeah. So it was as if they said, right, we're just gonna every time we meet somebody that's not an Everton fan,
Hmm.
we're gonna spread malicious rumours about him. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of times Everton fans opened when they knew I was a Liverpool fan. They just
Oh yeah,
they talked about
I used
Robbie
to get it
Fowler,
at work,
the cocaine rumours
and you'd be
all
laughing
the
at it,
time. I mean,
saying,
I
"I could name
mean,
you,
like
I could name a whole bunch of
you,
Liverpool players that were had a cocaine problem, but
but
like
what
I
I'm
wouldn't have
saying is.
included it. So why were they on him?"
What does it matter? The guy is an absolute genius of a footballer. Just
Yeah,
everybody
but
knows,
I'm
right?
just saying that
No, but
they're
let me finish.
doing
Let me
these
finish.
things
Let me
all the
finish.
same.
Yeah, I know. Let me finish. The world and their next door neighbor know that football players, right, take drugs. It's it's an unwritten rule, right? They're in the off
Oh,
season. Well, not all of them, clearly, but a lot of them do. It's stupid to think they don't, right? Because in the summer they don't get blood tested, right? So it's clearly a lot of them do. But that's part of society. It's not just footballers. American
but what's
footballers
that
do
got
it.
to do with?
Basketball players do
I
it.
still don't.
It's got nothing to do with it. But what I'm saying is, what I disagree with is Robbie Fowler, and I love Robbie. I think he's an amazing footballer, amazing. He's done so much for the city. But that I think that it was hilarious. Don't get me wrong; it was so funny, and I'm laughing about it now. I'm laughing about Julia's defense of it. But what I'm saying is, I feel it was wrong for him to do because if I had a child and my child said to me, Dad, what's he doing? What am I going to do? I don't want to lie to my child, but obviously don't want to tell him what the connotation is. So, in my humble opinion, I feel that it was wrong of Robbie to do that.
So you don't think
And
the problem was that again you're blaming Robbie for when he was the victim of the abuse and the
yeah,
rumours.
but I understand that, but
So he's shown light-hearted banter. Surely
he's
you explain it to the kid by saying these people, these pricks in the crowd, are abusing him, and he's just turning it into a joke.
yeah, but number one, he's a role model, so he shouldn't have done it. And number two, I don't want to have a conversation about drugs with a
Well, if you
child.
wait until
That's
7, 8 years old,
uncomfortable.
you're probably a bit late in London, mate. To be
Yeah, but
fair,
what I'm saying is,
they're already
no,
members of the
but
gangs and that, and
yeah.
that most.
Oh yeah, they're all gangsters at 8 years of
Well,
age.
and
Yeah,
not well,
but
they are these days. Trust me,
yeah, okay. But what I'm
they
saying
use
is,
them to
but
run.
back then, yeah. But I just feel I think if you ask Robbie and I feel that
No,
I
I
no, don't
fully
get me wrong.
understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying
Yeah,
is that the punishment is they're punishing the victim of massive amounts of abuse who tried to make it
yeah,
light-hearted, and instead of instead of dealing with the problem, which they should have been doing, they should have been throwing these pricks out that were constantly abusing
yeah,
him. Same as they should have when these pricks were throwing bananas at John Barnes. It's a similar
yeah.
thing. It's horrible, nasty abuse that is not needed in football or anywhere.
Absolutely not.
And
It's
what you've done
persecution.
is,
It's
yeah,
persecution, and they're vilifying the guy.
yeah,
What I do respect him for is not necessarily the celebration. What I respect him for was the fact that he made it. He didn't make it nasty. He made it light-hearted, and you've got
exactly.
to
And
admire
that's
the
what I'm
man for
saying
that.
is,
Yeah,
yeah, he
yeah,
just turned it. And all you'd have to do is say to a kid, he's just making a bit of fun out of some abuse he's been getting.
yeah. Well,
That's all you'd have to do. He
you're.
doesn't have to explain it to him properly. You just say to him, he's been taking a bit of
Uh,
abuse from the crowd because they don't like him because he's one of our better players and they don't want to, they don't want him to perform well, so they're trying to put him off his game,
Yeah.
and
Well,
he's turning it into
you're.
a bit of a joke to try and get back at
There's
him because he scored. That's all you'd have to
there's a
say.
reason. There's a reason why you don't win Father of the Year every year, isn't there?
Why? Because would tell me what's wrong with saying that?
Because you don't want. I don't know. Would you have a a discussion with a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old about cocaine?
But you
Is
don't
that
have
right?
to. I've just said you don't have to say cocaine. You don't have to mention anything to cocaine. You just say he's been taking a bit of abuse and he was just turning it into a bit of a joke.
Yeah, but there's
You don't have to
parents out
explain what
there.
it is.
Yeah, but
that's
there's
their
parents
fault.
out there.
That's not my fault because some parents are crap. You know what I mean? You know, I can't do anything about that. I'm not the government who thinks we have to nanny everyone.
All right, mate.
I mean, there's a lot of kids that all be sat at home and their parents are getting high in front of them. I mean, so like you can't shield everyone.
Well,
They hear far worse. They hear far worse in the crowd already if they go into a football match. Let's be honest. I think that's the least of your worries.
Talking about getting high, I'm getting high on Klopp's football. So
why are we talking about Robbie? Why have we talked? Oh, God, I mean,
I just brought it down beautifully. I brought it back on topic so wonderfully well there. All right, mate.
Yeah,
I think
so. Klopp's number 5 then, or number 6?
Klopp's
Depends
number 5 for you and number 6.
Yeah.
Klopp's number 5 for you, number 6 for me, and
so
at the end of the season,
because you're obviously wrong.
Yeah, and he's going to go up to number 5 for me at the end of the season when we bring that Premiership baby home.
Oh God, please don't say it like that. God, you know how superstitious I am. You know it. Oh.
Talking about home, mate, I've got to get a plane, so same time next week.
You're buying a plane?
That's it. Going home on a plane. So,
right. Sorry, I don't know. It's the way you live. It could have been buying one for all I know. So you'd be buying one of those ones that have been grounded because they're no good. You'd probably buy one of them if you bought one. So,
mate, I'm it's a bit like you're going to buy you. You're grounded and no good.
Yeah. Story of my life, that is. Grounded.
Yeah. Adios, mate. See you next
mate,
Tuesday.
Take care. See you next Tuesday.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Bye-bye.